to go racing. Back into the doubleheader for the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, and we are ready to rock and roll. They'll work their way onto the front straightaway out of 14, settling in. Field looks good. 21 strong, all powered by Elite Engines, manufactured here in Wisconsin. Drivers are lined up on the throttle. And we are underway. Green, green, green as they'll race their way down the front straightaway. A long, long run down into turn number 1. Let's go 2, 3, 4 wide into turn number 1 around the outside. Big move to the outside for Denmark. Trying to see if he can't get by one driver way off the racetrack on the exit of turn number 1. Getting himself back on cleanly. Otherwise, look at D'Orlando trying to push around the outside as well. Trying to figure out which driver went back. That might have been Billy Fraser potentially. He went around the outside. Fraser may have fallen in deep in the field, came back on, but it looked to me like that might have been the exclusive car, Eric, all right, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, it did. It looked like that burgundy car, and here we go again, coming down into turn 5.
Hold your breath.
Side.
Hold your breath, everyone. Coming through. You can see it a little tight there. Yeah, Fraser's going to go to almost dead last, so keep an eye on Billy Fraser over 12 laps as he tries to recover his way back up to the front. Had a strong third-place finish in race number 1. He'll try to get a couple of cars a lap here. He's on the outside of 7. He's going to get at least 2. Indeed, able to get by, I believe, D'Orlando. But otherwise up front, it is Michael D'Orlando. We'll go 3 wide, deeper in the field. Hold on to that one. Wow, I'll tell you, nice job for the USF 2000 drivers. That looked pretty sketchy, Steve, going into turn number 8, but they actually came out cleanly on the other side.
Yeah, and here we go through the carousel 2 wide, which isn't usually the way you do that. By the time they get to the kink, they've got themselves sorted out. Looks like that's probably Nicky Hayes and Jackson Lee fighting.
Less chaos on the opening circuit. Just a lot of scrapping side by side. You need a couple of those white Cape Motorsport cars side by side coming down into Canada Corner. Otherwise, everybody's settling in here right now. Indeed, they'll go single file coming out. You can see them double file even further back from 16th back to 21st. Double file at the tail of the field. We'll give you a full field rundown as they work their way out of 14, get back across the line here now. D'Orlando, I believe, has been able to maintain the front spot. The biggest dropper there, of course, as we said, was Billy Fraser. He's going to fall to, I think, 18th position. So he has work to do. He's going to have 11 laps, 18th spot. Watch for him to attack very quickly. They'll come across the line. Michael D'Orlando, the leader. Rowe runs in second. Chase Denmark third, so Pabst Racing second and third. Bajoy Garg in the 4th position. Thomas Naveau up to 5th. Nikita Johnson 6th. Jagger Jones 7th. Nicky Hayes in 8th. Jorge Garcia 9th. And Joey Brienza 10th. Dylan Christie 11th. Danny Dazelski 12th. 13th, 14th, and 15th. Anderson, Kohlbecker, and Burke. Jackson Lee in 16th spot. Billy Fraser ends up coming in 17th ahead of Nick D'Orlando, Christian Weir, Jacob Douglas, and Papa Savas. I don't know that he started. We're not seeing it. Yeah, DNS for Ivagor's Papa Savas. So, man, not the weekend he was hoping as a debut after the incident in the opening race. But again, I'll tell you, for Billy Fraser, he's going to be hoping that they're getting chaotic up front. He needs to pass maybe 4 or 5 cars, get a yellow, 4 or 5 more, get a yellow, because right now the drivers up front looking pretty good. D'Orlando, Rowe, and Denmark, Eric, all told, the front drivers finally starting to settle in.
Absolutely, but Michael D'Orlando, his best friend is going to be Jace Denmark right now. Denmark doing the same thing here in the early opening laps that he did in the closing laps of race number 1 is Denmark and Rowe side by side for much of the last final laps. And we've got a yellow over in turn 8, contact just in front of the Speedville Bridge.
Yeah, driver contact coming down out of turn number 8 and went around there. I'm not sure that might have been D'Orlando. He'll get back out onto the racetrack here. We'll try to pick up who that is. Able to continue, but we do have a full course caution, like there's some potentially a driver elsewhere on the racetrack who has had an incident, because that seemed like it came out almost exactly the same time as that spin happened. And, of course, the driver able to continue. We're being told potentially car 8, Danny Dazelski, involved in an incident with Victor Anderson as well. Anderson able to continue on, whether or not Dazelski involved, but it is a full course caution, and probably the best thing could have happened for Billy Fraser, because he's going to get a couple of spots there to move his way back forward. Michael D'Orlando, Rowe, Denmark. Steve, this is when you press the reset button, because you've got yourself so focused at the start. You're ready for the chaos of the opening couple of laps. You take a deep breath. You got to go back to work.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting restart, and I think it's interesting to see. You've got Cape Motorsports driver and Michael D'Orlando up front, but then you've got a pair of teammates, Rowe and Denmark and Garg and Netvo fighting for second, third, fourth, and fifth. And you know how it goes when you're fighting teammates. You got to keep it clean, but you're definitely going to want to get ahead.
Yeah, I'll come back a little bit when I talk to Jace Denmark. We chatted a bit about that. I talked to Augie Paps as well. There's the number 8 of Danny Dzelski on the outside of turn number 3. So an issue, again, for Dzelski, which has brought out the yellow. The AMR IndyCar safety crew already there. Danny out of the car already. I don't see any significant damage from where I am here. You wonder whether or not there might have been a mechanical gearbox, whatever it may be, may have lost power, because they're not going to get him back on track. They'll get this thing back up on the hook.
And again, he is in the driver's left area, so we could have had some contact on the outside.
That's true. Yeah, just couldn't see the I couldn't see any damage on the left side of the race car, maybe the right side. Again, as we said, looking at the order there, we'll try to give you a full field rundown, but a really strong start for D'Orlando. Just about what he was looking for there to be able to get through cleanly. And D'Orlando will bring him back around. A couple of laps here to dial things in. Pabst Racing drivers right behind him, which I think is tough because here he is having to battle it with them. Miles Rowe, P2, Jace Denmark in third, Bejoy Garg in the 4th spot. 5th, Thomas DeVoe. 6th, Nikita Johnson. 7th, Jagger Jones. 8th, Nicky Hayes. 9th, Jorge Garces. And 10th is Dylan Christie. Joey Brienza runs 11th. Spike Kolbecker and Trey Burke up to 12th and 13th. Billy Fraser, 14th position. So the issue with Fraser, on the outside of turn number 1 and got that big push to the outside. Not sure whether it was contact or not, but he was way off the outside of the racetrack. A lot of runoff room, Steve, over in turn number 1 on the exit. You can use it all, but he was so far over, I think he probably had to cut some grass before he got back on the track.
Yeah, it looked like he definitely bounded through the grass there, and it's a little bumpy. You've seen a lot of different series using that exit curb aggressively, and it's actually not the worst thing if you get outside of it. This is a track that has very aggressive curbing, and it can be a little hard on the cars at times, especially at this level. We see a lot of camber shim issues, and later in races with the curbing here. So actually getting outside of that isn't the worst thing in the world. And he's got 9 laps now to make up some positions, and the top 5's not out of the question for Fraser right now.
No, I would agree with you. The interesting thing coming in, that's a DNF for Michael D'Orlando. The issue for Michael D'Orlando is he tried to go down to the inside of Billy Fraser in turn number 8 in race 1. He came into the weekend with a 17-point lead. He comes out of that race behind by 1 to Miles Rowe. But I think even more important, top 4 drivers, Miles Rowe, Michael D'Orlando, Jace Denmark, and Billy Fraser, all separated by just 10 points coming into today's second race. And even Jagger Jones, he's only back by another 10 points. He's only 20 points back. So 5 drivers most definitely in the championship fight still as we're banging a couple laps out here under yellow. But I'll tell you, this one's tight. It's the mindset of a Miles Rowe right now. You're the point leader coming in. You're second behind D'Orlando. Yeah, you might lose a couple of spots. I would think that Rowe's going to do whatever he can to win this race. I want to say that obviously you have to believe that Augie Paps got on the radio at the end of that one when they were, out in front, in first and second, and said, "Guys, you bring it home here. You can race, but bring it home." He wanted a 1-2, and again, seeing now, maybe a little more green flag. Let's put it this way for Miles Rowe to go for a race win.
Yeah, for sure. Second race of the weekend. Last race these guys will be doing this weekend. So yeah, no, there's probably a little bit more of a green flag. And I talked to Miles after the earlier race, and he wasn't overly happy with second, but I think he understood that it was a smart thing to do, and the smile came back when I told him that he had the points lead.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like that makes it a little bit different. So no, it's he's had some very mature drives recently, over the last 3 or 4 races where if he's had a 5th place car, he's taken the 5th place, that's how you win a championship.
That's it. That is how you win a championship. If you're a young racer out there, take heed to that. I know that when we talk championship, with all the drivers. They love to come up with that line. I don't know if it's a racer in them. I'm just here to win races and let the championship fall where it may. Well, Scott Dixon has 7 championships for a reason. It's not because he went bonsai for a race win every time. He took the race car he had and gave it the best possible finish. Sometimes you're not perfect. Sometimes you're a 5th place car. Sometimes you're a 7th place car. If you're smart, especially here in the road to Indy with so much money up for grabs at the end, you got a scholarship to go to Indy Pro 2000. Sometimes if you have that championship mind, it's going to play a lot better for you career-wise.
And it's not really a racer's mindset to do that.
No, it's not.
You know, like someone like Miles wants to win as many races as possible, but, you know, somewhere in the back of Miles' mind, he has to remember that I'm probably not racing next year if I don't win the championship, right?
And let's talk about that, right? Because
right, like
at the start of the season, of course, last year he ran for Force Indy. Force Indy elected to move to Indy Lights here in 2022 with Ernie Francis Jr. And, of course, that kind of left Miles, on the sidelines. Roger Penske stepped up, Penske Entertainment, and said, I'm going to see what I can do to give you the start to the season. You try to find yourself more sponsorship. Not able to find the backing, which is so hard for any driver to do. Let's be real. It's so hard to find sponsorship or even in investing. But then he comes out of the gate, wins a couple of races, and leads the points. And Roger's like, all right, well, I got you into this, right?
Exactly.
Let's see what we can do. So essentially said, hey, we got you for the end of the season. And the kid has delivered, and he has changed. Like, last year as the rookie, winning in New Jersey in the wet race, coming out of the gate here, really aggressive in the opening round. Got into that incident with Thomas Deveau, but I almost feel like there's just that quick maturation for Miles Rowe, and you said it the last couple of races, he's been really consistent.
Yeah, he's I think people forget before last year he'd been out of the car forever and ever, like 4 years, and he didn't have a ton of car experience before that, right? It was some Lucas Oil School of Racing Winter Series stuff, and it's interesting. I'm friends with a number of the coaches at that school, and they all rate when I ask about the talent. There's no ifs, ands, or buts that Miles is the most talented kid they've had through there.
Okay.
So that says a lot to me. There's some guys there, like there's some people there who've been around and seen it and done it. So I trust their what their judgment on talent is, and it's clear that Miles has a lot of talent, and it's just track time.
Yeah,
he needs the track time.
And the early report card was there's no need to try to he's got the aggression. You're not trying to push him.
No,
it's pulling that aggression back and harnessing it and focusing that aggression. And the minute he gets that, he's going to have even more success. We'll see what happens here. We'll see if that aggression I've talked about will be harnessed, because a big run down into turn number 1. We know at the green flag when we get back to racing, D'Orlando is going to be, as we call, the sitting duck up front. Such a long run after we get the green, Eric. You know that Miles Rowe's going to go to the lead here, or at least try.
Miles Rowe took the lead on one of the restarts in round 1, just a few hours ago. But Jace Denmark got the win because he made that last lap pass. So Rowe's now got to get back to the front and then be mindful of that. He's going to be on the button.
Here we go, back up the hill, and the green flag flying back underway here with USF 2000, and immediately to the wall goes D'Orlando, and to the outside goes Miles Rowe. He'll try to get that run down. A couple other drivers deep to the inside. Rowe around the outside. Could maybe try to make it 3 wide on the inside. Not going to work. Further back, there's Fraser getting another spot, and he needed to get into turn number 1. Let's see what we have down into 3. It looks like Miles Rowe indeed has gone to the lead, but a good battle there right now for the 3rd spot, side by side between Bejoy Garg and Jace Denmark. Rowe, the leader, Eric. D'Orlando goes back to P2.
Not a surprise, as Rowe got a great start in the toe a little bit, popped out to the outside just after start-finish. But how about Bejoy Garg right now, giving Jace Denmark all he can handle coming into turn 5?
Again, here comes D'Orlando down the bottom. The car a little bit twitchy as they'll work their way through turn number 5. 2 wide in a number of the different rows. Everybody trying to get some down in turn number 5. Back up the hill. D'Orlando book it back to the lead as he goes to the inside of turn number 6. D'Orlando immediately back to the front. That's flexing the muscles. Hey, yeah, you passed me on the big run down the straightaway, Steve, but I was able to get back by you in turn number 5. It's on.
Yeah, that's just the maturation of Michael D'Orlando. I think some people wondered, okay, why did he come back and do another year of USF 2000? This is why. He's learning so much running up front, running with someone quick like Miles Rowe and Jace Denmark. And we've got a spin in
Contact in the carousel, Steve. A couple drivers further back. I believe maybe one of the turn 3 cars involved. That's definitely going to be a full course yellow as well. As we had contact there. Hardcore racing. One driver on the inside, one on the outside. This is where you fight right now because we haven't got the yellow yet, so these drivers are all on it. They know that they've got to push hard. We'll freeze it after that. Everybody trying for a little bit more. Not quite sure who was involved further back there. I want to say it might have been one of the turn 3 cars, but I don't want to speak out of turn right now. Still haven't gone full course, and there it is. Aaron Likens at start-finish. Being told potentially the car number 9 of Jorge Garcias, driver who went off. Again, picked up that blue. Just the blue and white is turn 3. The blue and black is Jay Howard. Let's see how things stack up as they come back through. Which drivers were involved, all total. Let's have a look at the replay here. We did have the camera on it coming down through the carousel. And you're totally on the edge coming through the corner here. You see those drivers side by side. Yeah, one driver on the inside, one on the outside. That was
Fraser,
Billy Fraser. Yeah, Billy Fraser was coming to the inside of the carousel. Now that we've identified the drivers, if we can re-rack that, let's have a look at that replay again. And again, Billy Fraser, of course, getting aggressive, trying to make a move down to the bottom. He has followed to the tail of the field as well. Man, tough one for Billy. You can see him dead last on the grid right now, Steve. Tough. Here, let's have a look at the replay. Yeah, he's down the inside. Garcia's is around the outside.
So Fraser actually clips the right front inside the white line into the grass, and I think it just upset the car enough. And at the same time, almost looks like Garcia's just kind of in that situation, kind of squeezing like you normally do.
Yeah.
You open up your entry to the carousel, and then you want to squeeze back down to make that double apex. And it looks like Fraser really had nowhere to go, and he was already into the grass.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that there's a big donut mark on the side pod there of Garcias because you can see the way you always look at the way the car rotates after the contact, right? It was that clockwise rotation where he probably was right up into the side of on the side pod and turned around. He's coming in like you said. You're trying to get on that corner, right? Get back down to the apex, late apex through there, and again Fraser right down to the bottom. He's still on the racetrack now, 18th position. Sure race control will have a look at that, but it looked to me up potentially like a racing incident side by side. Everybody's going for room over there.
This is the second time he's going to go to the back.
It's very true. Yeah.
Opening lap, he made the mistake into turn 1 and put himself in the back of the field, and we stayed green and had to race his way back up about 5 or 6 spots and got himself into the chaos. We talk all the time about your starts, but when you do get in the back and then you do have to come from the back to the front, you're putting yourself into the chaos as well.
And I believe that was probably the fight for right around, I want to say 12th position at that point as well. So Fraser's got to re-rack it, and D'Orlando challenged once already. Rowe made a great move to get the pass done. He came right back in turn number 5, so he knows he's got a feel for that right now. D'Orlando not happy, of course, with what happened in race number 1. For him, it's all about getting that mindset where it needs to be again, Steve, to be ready here. And I think he's already shown that, again, the maturation of him, didn't need to come back. He was trying to go to Indy Pro 2000, but the scholarship's there, man. You come back to USF 2000 after finishing second, learn how to win, learn how to run for a championship. That's what I love about when drivers don't rush too quickly up the road to Indy.
Yeah, you know me, Rob. I'm a big believer in staying at the lower level until you win a bunch of races and become a championship contender. And it's a good opportunity for Michael. Let's hope he went to school on that last restart. Where Miles was right there and got a great jump. Let's see if Michael can do a little bit better job this time of defending and getting a better jump off at the green flag.
Great job by the AMR IndyCar safety crew. They were able to get Garcias back out on the racetrack. I don't think he lost a lap.
Starting to rain here on the front stretch.
We're getting some rain on the front stretch. Oh, yes, the umbrellas are coming out as if we needed any more another wrinkle into this race. We've got it with the rain finally coming here right now. Let's see how that plays.
At the start of the last race, I said it wasn't going to affect the last race, but it might affect this one.
What do you do if you're Billy Fraser? Do you pit right now? Do you
got nothing to lose.
Now? Yeah,
you got nothing to lose.
Do you come in right now and put the reins on? If the rain is indeed coming, are you the first guy on the reins? Let's see if Fraser dives in here right now. At least one driver's in. One driver into pit lane. It's one of the Jay Howard driver development cars. Billy Fraser stays out. I don't know if I'm at the tail of the field. That's not the worst call. We're going around yellow. You're going to be able to come back out with reins.
And it looks like it's coming down pretty hard here, but for how long is the question?
Yeah, who is it that's getting the pit lane? That's I'm trying to they haven't come across the so it's Trey Burke. Ooh, I like that call for Trey Burke. Get the wets on. The team will go to work. It does take a while here to get things rolling in terms of getting these tires done. They'll get the fronts off, get those reins on. This could be huge for Trey Burke right now.
Yeah,
especially if we go back to green this time by.
Yeah, it could be a really, really astute move by that team over there, and they're getting the work done and getting the tires changed. Like Rob said, it's not something these teams are normally do, but they do sort of practice it just to make sure they know what they're doing. But this isn't like IndyCar where there's air guns.
That's right.
And they use a hand crank and they'll get those tires changed. And yeah, I think Trey. I've been interested to see how he does in a rain race. Right, he's a dirt track guy.
Yeah.
I expect his car control to really come into play here. And another guy that probably doesn't mind seeing the rain is Miles Rowe. I remember he won a race in the damp at
Indeed.
New Jersey Motorsports Park last year. So.
But we knew it was coming, and they had, I think, a pretty good setup on that car.
I think
he
so.
likes the rain for sure. One of the biggest things is they had a long lap around here under yellow, so there's no way that Trey Burke goes a lap down here right now either. If we go back to green this time by, and indeed we do get the rain coming on a consistent basis, Trey Burke, that team may have just pulled the move to put him closer to the front. Let's see if we go. Oh, are we going red?
Yes,
We're going red flag. So the race officials electing to go red. So they're going to bring everybody in to change them to reins as opposed to getting people to come in and roll the dice. And again, those of you following us, one of the reasons why we do that, obviously safety. The other way around, when we are on a wet race and they've called it a wet race, then it's driver's choice to do what you want in a wet race. So we'll see how, of course, at times when we have a wet race, it dries up. Who's the first guy to come in to put on dries? Eric, obviously the race control, electing to kind of like err to the side of caution. I'd have to go look at the actual race control ruling on what they would do here. I'm sure there's a rule in the book that they would use. But red flag, bring everybody in. Let's get them on reins, and we'll go back racing.
Yeah, and in fairness, these teams are not equipped to do a flying pit stop and make that last-minute change. The last thing you want to do is have them make a mistake on pit lane trying to add those 4 tires. I mean, very honestly, from a racing standpoint, I love the move the 63.
I would love to have seen it play out.
I would have loved to see that play out with the 63, the only one on reins, and then everybody else have to pit coming down, and he takes the lead. On the restart, and a re-rack. But in fairness to these teams, for driver safety, it certainly makes sense. You don't want to see anybody rush to put the tires on either.
Yeah, and I just got a message, and the word we don't, it's raining here on the front stretch, but I've heard that in turn 10, it is pouring. So probably a very good move here by race control to bring these drivers in. Like Rob said, safety first.
You have to do
definitely.
it. Yeah.
Especially at a high-speed track like this. It makes sense. But that I don't know. We'll see where they re-rack Trey Burke here. Maybe he's out in front. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how they play that in terms of timing and scoring. But actually, Burke would be essentially almost a lap down, right? Because he hasn't gone back around. So they'll have to put him back into the position. So indeed, they're going to bring the cars in here. We'll get them a chance to get rain tires, the rain Coopers on here. And again, I don't think we've had a rain race as of yet this year. So we'll see which drivers are able to show it in what they call the great equalizer. Rain, not about horsepower, not about setup as much about the driver's right foot and their hands as well. And it's all about throttle modulation, easy on the brakes, quiet hands. Make sure that you're able to have really calm input. You want to stand in the loud pedal. It doesn't work in the wet conditions. And indeed, I got the same note as Steve did. Heavy rain in turn number 10. We see it kind of intensifying, I think, a little bit here on the front straightaway as well. But indeed, in they come, led by Michael D'Orlando. We'll give you a full field rundown now, although we don't know indeed where Burke is going to slot in. Michael D'Orlando pits with the lead. Miles Rowe in second. Bejoy Garg in third. Thomas Naveau in fourth spot. Jace Denmark dropped to fifth. Nikita Johnson in sixth. Jagger Jones in seventh. Nicky Hayes eighth. Dylan Christie in ninth. Spike Kohlbecker in 10th. Joey Brienza 11th. Nick D'Orlando 12th. Christian Weir 13th. Jacob Douglas 14th. Jackson Lee in 15th spot. Victor Anderson 16th. Billy Fraser 17th. Trey Burke 18th. Jorge Garcias in 19th. Again, I don't think Burke was that far back when he came into pit lane. We'll see whether they go back another lap to reinsert Trey Burke. But the bottom line is this. Wow, they're not even actually putting him to their pit boxes. All right. I am officially confused on the tactics right now. We'll see what the idea is. But they brought these drivers into pit lane here now.
Yeah, with the 4-mile racetrack, like we on the front stretch here, yeah, it's raining, but we don't know. We can't tell what's doing in turn 10 and other parts of the track, so they're going to be cautious here and make sure that everybody stays safe. And there we go. We've got the last car in right now.
That's the number 9 of Garcias rolling to his pit box. Everyone else still on the racetrack. So again, 7 laps in the books, 5 laps remaining, and waiting to get a call potentially from race control to find out what the plan is for our drivers. 5 laps to go, red flag after the rain came.
I think it's a little peculiar that we've pulled them to the head end of pit lane without going to their boxes. If this indeed was a red flag for the weather scenario.
Michael D'Orlando, as we said, folks, coming into this race, 1 point behind Miles Rowe. Went for it down in turn number 8. Contact with Billy Fraser in race number 1 dropped him to the tail of the field. They were fighting for, I believe, 4th or 5th at that point. Not a good result there for D'Orlando, but still just 1 point behind based on a solid success, winning on the oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park and winning as well earlier in this. Actually, it was his first win was on the oval, but a bunch of podiums. I think 6 podiums or 5 podiums so far this year. So it's been pretty consistent for D'Orlando. Getting that big win at the oval, though, 1.5 points scored for the oval race. So that bounced him up to a 17-point lead coming in over Miles Rowe. But again, Rowe with that second place finish to his teammate Jace Denmark, now holding a 1-point lead coming into race number 2 here. Now D'Orlando has led 7 laps, I believe. I don't think he led a lap, so I think obviously lap leaders for D'Orlando. That's a bonus point for him already. So as they run on the racetrack right now, tied for points between D'Orlando and Rowe. So what's happening right now, being told, is that we've got the pace car out onto the racetrack to kind of evaluate the situation right now. Let's have a look at the conditions, decide what the plan is now. And again, that's one of the things you got to look at for a race team. If it's not fully wet, do you bolt on a set of rain tires and go out and absolutely chew them up, right? These guys already have tires that they can use, that they're allotted tires, slick tires for the weekend. Do we have time to potentially send them back out? Will the conditions be treacherous? I don't know.
I'm looking at the weather rock outside the VIP tower here, and it doesn't appear that there's a lot of rain energy that is on the front stretch right now. So it looks like it may have stopped.
Fans are walking around, no umbrellas.
So in this situation, we do have a little bit of different microclimates here at Road America. So the southern half may be wet. The north half may not have any moisture, in which case you don't really want to necessarily declare it a wet.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, so I got a message here. Turn 4 and 5, rain is light and lessening. 6, 7, and 8, it's very light. So, yeah, like Rob said, they might just be evaluating to see, these teams maybe don't want to bolt on rain tires. But like we've said, safety before anything else. And it's probably better to pull them in. If you had a big, heavy rainstorm in turn 10, you're like, okay, is that going to hit the entire track? So it's just, like Eric said, microclimates here at Road America. We've seen it before. When you have 4 miles of racetrack, it certainly can be different in different corners.
So
we're no stranger to that type of microclimate in Indianapolis either.
That's very true. But what do you do with Trey Burke right now? Because literally you threw the red when he was in there. He should have been able to come back out onto the racetrack and go around. He had put the wets on. Right, it's not like he should have lost that lap. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out here for Trey Burke as well. He's gone to the wets. Does he need to stay with the wets, having already done that before we went red? D'Orlando, though, again, leading them down, as we had said, coming in after the issue in race number 1 earlier today. Again, those of you tuning into the Road Indy TV broadcast, we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning. Drivers, of course, rolling out early with our second race of the Indy Pro 2000 category. Looking forward to that race to see how that all plays out, because we saw a huge run there for Louis Foster, his 3rd straight win. Green flag set to go at 8:30 tomorrow morning. We'll go live with the pre-show on Road to Indy TV both on the app and on the YouTube channel, and of course on IndyPro2000.com as well at 8 a.m. scheduled start time, Central Time, of course, for the pre-race show. 8:30 green flag, and lining up what should be a tremendous day here, Eric. A lot of great racing on tap, and looking forward to seeing what we get here in the IndyCar race. Steve, I know you cover that as well, man. It's gonna be a good race. Rossi up front. This should be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's shaping up to be a really fascinating NTT IndyCar Series race. Tomorrow you've got a little bit different tire performance this year compared to last year, and I don't think talked to a couple drivers after qualifying, and I think we'll know a little more after they practice here. But it sounds like before this used to be one of those tracks where the black tires were sort of the tire of choice, but it sounds like the reds might be hold on a little bit better this year, so, and the blacks might go off a little more. So I think it could be interesting tomorrow to see what the tire strategy is.
So, looking at that, the different tire deg that we've seen with the NTT IndyCar Series, I think we saw it kind of play out at Detroit, where you had 4 completely different strategies play out.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping we see that same thing here this weekend at Road America, just different strategies, whether it's a 2-stop or 3-stop, or when do you go to the reds, when do you stay to the blacks. I mean, it just opens up a whole different set of opportunities. Not having any yellows at Detroit last weekend, does that play into if we have an early yellow here, what does that do to the strategy? So it's going to be an interesting play tomorrow for the NTT IndyCar Series. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I think it should be a fascinating race, and Rossi has not won in 3 years since here.
Yeah.
When he drove away with the race here. So I know he's itching, and desperate isn't the right word to get a win, but I know he wants to get back in the championship conversation, and that team is starting to click on all cylinders, and he seems to be just in a little bit better place than he was at the start of the season, so it'll be interesting.
So interestingly here right now, back to the action here in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. I believe Race Control taking the time to decide what they want to do here with Trey Burke. This is obviously an interesting situation, what they've done. They pit to put on the rain tires, which obviously making the call to get that advantage, then going red, it kind of elected that a little bit. So at this point here, kind of trying to figure out exactly how they're going to play it. Being told we're ready to fire things back up again. Again, we've got Jorge Garcias down here on his pit box. We've got Trey Burke in his pit box as well. I don't know if they've been allowed to go back to slicks. Not quite sure exactly what is happening here right now in terms of those drivers. But otherwise, being told that we're going to be restarting these engines momentarily and getting back at it with D'Orlando, Rowe, Garg, Naveau, and Denmark, the top 5. You can see we have some car mechanics rolling over, potentially to bolt in some batteries and get things back underway. D'Orlando, again, crucial for him, Steve, to get himself where he needs to be now, because the bottom line is that the mistake, the contact in race number 1 today just set him on the back foot. This would be a huge recovery if he's able even to be on the podium, but a win I think would be big.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of that kick your spurs in and dig deep here for him today. After knowing that there was a mistake that he made in race 1, you just got to dig deep, and you got to recover from that. You can't, this is a new race, even though it's same day, just an hour or so later, you got to dig in, and you got to come back and not let that bother you either.
So being got the update here that we are going to stay with dry tires. We're not going to go to wets. They brought everybody in for reds. Again, we sent the pace car out with the race officials to have a look at the track. Steve gave you kind of an update on the different situations in terms of what kind of precipitation we had at each corner of the racetrack here right now. Elected to go right back out with dries. Again, how does this play for Trey Burke? Looks to me like they may be going to work on getting the slicks back on Burke. So he had come in, put on wets. They go red, so you can't touch the car. They've got to go to work on this machine again. Looks like they're going to try to put a new front wing on it. I'm not sure what they're doing in terms of tires. Just a mess for the guys over there with Trey Burke's team. What a shame.
Yeah, that is a shame. He, You know, he's showing some speed this weekend, but he's had a few penalties, and I guess he had a penalty earlier in this race too. I got a message that he had another jumping the restart penalty. So
He got 2 of those, I think. Did he
yeah,
not?
I think so. So yeah, no, it's not been the greatest weekend for him, and you know he's got Sage Karam here again this weekend, driver coaching him, and the weekends that Sage has been here, he's been much quicker. I think it's been a huge help to him, but you know I don't think people understand how hard what Trey Burke is doing. It really is, right? No open wheel experience before jumping in. Really good dirt racer, really good midget racer. So you know, it's not an easy thing to do, but it's I love seeing guys try that.
Me
right?
too.
Like it's kind of an interesting path for a career. Even a guy like Jagger Jones, right?
Yep.
Comes from the stock car world, not a lot of open wheel experience. Now, lots of open wheel experience in his family, but not
That's right. That's
not him. So it's been interesting to see these guys kind of make that jump from stock car and the dirt track and midget world into the open wheel world.
And I'll say this, Trey Burke was in deep water last year.
Oh.
Didn't go in with a team, his own team, so he didn't have any other data to overlay, which I think would have been crucial for him. I'm surprised they didn't try to do some kind of a technical alliance or even a coaching alliance to be able to get some kind of data to overlay to see where he needed, where he was on corner speeds and entry speeds, whatever it may be. But I like what he's done. He has turned things up. Was a top 10 runner earlier today if it weren't for the contact in turn number 5 where he was kind of on the outside of it. Did get a couple of penalties for jumping the start. Well, that's probably going back to the dirt track routes where you're trying to jump on that loud pedal in a sprint car and get rolling early. But he'll learn that. And again, like I said, just overall outright speed. I know Trey Burke has spent a ton of time on the simulator, on iRacing, really trying to develop the feel for running these tracks. And I think it's already paid off. We saw a lot of speed out of him, Eric, throughout this weekend.
Absolutely. And from having dirt racing experience myself and then kind of jumping into, granted this is 20 plus years ago, but jumping into a barber car here and going 150 miles an hour through the kink for the very first time with no arrow on the car, with a big motor strapped behind you. It's quite an eye-opening experience to go from, running sprints to running something like this, with an open wheel formula car. And it's a big adjustment.
Just think about the seating position, number one.
Absolutely.
When you're in a sprint car, it's like sitting in a bar stool, essentially, right, on a chair with your feet straight down and the wheel kind of horizontal in front of you. When you jump into an open wheel car like this, where your feet are literally above you, you're laying on your back. So much different approach to the actual just driving the car itself for Trey Burke. They've got him back out on the racetrack, and Steve just giving me the note. We're going to go, I believe, green second time by, kind of build some heat up into the tires, give the drivers a chance to feel each of the corners, what kind of grip level we have there.
And we've been kind of paying attention to that track temperature throughout the weekend, and today clearly much cooler. We started the day yesterday temperatures in the 70s and 80s. Today we started with track temperatures in the 60s. It's a much cooler day today. High horsepower day, but it's also taking a little bit longer to get these Cooper tires up to speed.
Last Road to Indy event of the day. We're back tomorrow morning, as I said, at 8:30. Green flag for the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. These drivers now trying to build some heat into these Cooper tires. Just a little bit of a rain shower came in here, made everybody think about wets, brought them in for a red. We're back to racing once again. This is going to be a cage match, Steve, to the end of this one. When they come back around, they're going to put lap number 9 in the books. We're going to have 3 laps remaining. It will be a dogfight to the checkered flag.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun shootout. And you got 3 teams in the top 3, and you've got a couple guys that are in the championship hunt that are wanting to have good results. And then maybe you got someone like Bijoy Garg who's looking for his first career win, who might be able to take advantage of guys that are might be a little bit cautious, right? Like,
yeah.
If I'm Bijoy, I might get a little aggressive here. He's looking for his first win, and he's had a few podiums, and it was really good on the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway. And if I'm Bijoy, I might be. If I'm the Martinez boys down at D-Force, I might be on the radio and say, let's push it a little bit.
Let's
here.
do
We've
this.
got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Right?
I 100% agree. I talked to Bijoy after the first race, and they were having a bit of trouble with just getting the exit grip coming out of the corner. They struggled a bit with that. Of course, that team, D-Force Racing, winning the championship last year with Kiko Porto, so they know their way around this USF 22 race car, this Italian-made Tatis chassis. And again, I think you're right, Bajoy. Hey, he could be sitting there like, this is my best chance I've ever had in the road to Indy, go for a win. I got Deerland and Rowe thinking about the championship. I can be maybe a little more extra aggressive. They may back down a little bit. Now, as I say that, it sounds ridiculous that Deerland or Rowe would back down.
Probably not.
Really
not
not.
gonna
You know
happen.
what? You might as well. You might as well try.
Really not in the nature of either of those drivers. Same goes with Naveau, who's in fourth. This is a guy you never have to never have to try to
definitely
push forward.
We never really got a chance to talk about it because the yellow came out and then the red for the rain. But Jace Denmark and Nepvu were going at it side by side through 5 into 6, and Naveau got up there into 6 when the red came out. So he's clearly been on the button, and
Yep.
Jace Denmark fading just a bit here in the middle stages of this USF 2000 Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Road America.
Again, a very odd run here as we had a couple drivers with incidents. We had some potential rain coming in. Red flag came out. We've got Trey Burke back out on the track, having come in early. We got Billy Fraser, who was up front and had some trouble. He had 2 separate incidents, off in turn number 1, then contact with Jorge Garcias down in the carousel, which brought out the initial yellow flag before we went to the red with the weather. So you got a lot of things to watch over these 3 laps here. You've got D'Orlando, Rowe, Garg, Naveau all ready to fight for a race win. You got guys like Fraser trying to come for the tail of the field to see if they can salvage some points. A couple of different places to watch around this racetrack. Pace car has headed on off. Put it back in the hands of Michael D'Orlando, who has a big win at the Oval, wants one here as well. Look at this, right on the gearbox for Miles Rowe. Out of turn number 14. They'll climb into the throttle, and away we go up the hill. D'Orlando, full send. Green flag flying at start, finish, and we're underway. Carbon copy of the last restart. He's at the wall. Miles Rowe going to try to go around the outside. What does Bajoy Garg do? How about 3 wide down into turn number 1? Garg looking to the inside. Rowe along the outside. But he'll hold on to it. The D-Force cars, Garg and Naveau, side by side through turn number 1. Opening lap, a hectic one. D'Orlando will lead him coming down here. Rowe right on the gearbox. A couple of guys had to check up behind Christie. Colbecker, I believe, and maybe Nicky Hayes. Or that might have been Hayes and Jones. Christie might have got by them there, Eric.
Yeah, Christie's been on the loud pedal on the restarts here as well. But Michael D'Orlando locked the brakes up going into turn 3 a little bit. May cost him a little bit of momentum. But Rowe going to the outside or looking to the outside, and D'Orlando about a car length and a half into turn 5 under braking. But still, these tires are cold now, and there's some moisture. We're going to see these tires take a couple of laps to get warmed up. By the time they get warmed up, we're going to get the white flag.
Yeah, Steve, though, I really like what I'm seeing out of Miles Rowe right now. He could have been super aggressive, but why not let the field stretch out a little bit, right? Let's not have that pressure from behind. Bajoy Garg is there, but he doesn't have a bunch of guys snarling behind him. Settles in on the gearbox of D'Orlando. A couple of championship contenders ready to fight it out now. Side by side, that was Fraser to the inside of his teammate Jacob Douglas. I believe he gets through. Indeed, he does. So move Fraser probably up into 14th position.
How did they get through there?
I don't know how they got through there. I did close my eyes, but I certainly thought there was going to be a lot of contact, but somehow the teammates made it work. Wow.
The Tatis uprights and and wishbones holding on there through turn number 8. And again, strong run up front for D'Orlando on this opening lap. Hold on.
Navo's taking a look here. Oh, they look like the D-Force.
That's through. I think he's
made
through.
some contact, yeah.
There might have been contact, Steve, into the braking zone. You're right. And there is Trey Burke, I believe, trying to get around the outside as well of Jacob Douglas. But again, here we come back around. It'll be 2 to go this time by. There's your leaders stretching out. The 2 D-Force cars running 3rd and 4th. Denmark in 5th, Johnson 6th. We're told we're getting the white flag this time around. So white flag flying this time by. It says 3 to go, but this is it. Final circuit. D'Orlando trying to come back after the disappointment of race number 1. What do we got here right now from Rowe? He's 0.4 of a second back. Final lap, and he's right up there with them now. Final circuit. The D-Force driver scrapping it out. Same goes for Denmark and Nikita Johnson. Further back, the scrap deeper in the field. Naveau up into P3. He's been able to get by Garg. He's going to hope that Rowe and D'Orlando battle it out here. Out of 3, down through the kink 4, into turn number 5. What happens here with D'Orlando? We were at an inside line last time by, was able to come back across to the right side of the racetrack as Rowe was not there to attack. Final circuit. for USF 2000. Those two drivers stretching out. The D-Force guys scrapping it out for P3.
Boy, I tell you what, that battle between teammates is hot and heavy as they work back up the hill. A gaggle of cars, 3 wide on the exit of 5 up the hill to 6.
And we're dialing things in here again. Looks like Nikita Johnson's gone to P5. I think Dylan Christie able to get by Jace Denmark as well. So again, this is the battle for the point lead here now. Rowe came in with a 1-point lead. Most laps led, though, for D. Orlando, so they're tied in points. There's Nikki Hayes in the 5. And look at this. This is Billy Fraser closing up to the tail of that group. Fraser going to try to get a couple of spots before it's all said and done. He's right behind Christian Weir. That's 13th. As they come through the carousel, Weir's going to try to go around the outside here of Dick D. Orlando. But there's your leaders through the kink right now. D. Orlando trying to come back to get his 2nd race win of the year. Last year's runner-up here in USF 2000, most definitely in the championship fight. And the guy he's fighting with right behind him in the Pabst Racing number 22, that is Miles Rowe.
Can Miles Rowe put any pressure on him going into turn 14 to force D. Orlando to make a mistake? Who's got that on their Road to Indy bingo card for today? 'Cause it's been a wild day today.
I'm thinking about the drag race to the line. I don't know that we're going to get one. D. Orlando really good through turn number 4 as they work their way back up the hill. Michael D. Orlando looks clean and green, and he is, I believe, going to win it here. Big run here for Rowe. Not enough, and Michael D. Orlando winning race number 2 for USF 2000. Essentially a flag-to-flag victory as D. Orlando gets the win for Cape Motorsports and jumps himself back into the point lead by about 5 markers over Miles Rowe. Everyone else fighting across the line. Rowe 2nd. Naveau works his way back up into 3rd. 14th to 6th in the race number 1. And Thomas Naveau, who started 9th in this one, up to 3rd. 2 really strong races for the Canadian for D-Force Racing. And it's a D-Force 3-4 as Bajoy Gargan's up 4th. Jace Denmark in 5th. Dylan Christie in 6th spot. All 3 D-Force cars in the top 6. Jagger Jones ends up in 7th. Nikita Johnson 8th. Nikki Hayes and Spike Kolbecker 9th and 10th. Fraser able to get by Nicholas D. Orlando in the final lap. Somehow Billy Fraser to 12th. Limits the damage a little bit, but not what he was looking for with the pace he's had for Fraser. Nonetheless, Steve, Michael D. Orlando challenged by Rowe. I like D. Orlando coming back, but man, Miles Rowe showing some patience here right now with a couple of really strong second place finishes. I don't think we would have saw that out of him last year.
No, I don't think we might not have saw that out of him in the first 2 events of the year.
True enough.
No, I think, Miles didn't win this weekend, but this might be his best weekend I've seen him on the road to Indy as a driver.
It's the most complete weekend.
Yeah, exactly. It was, his qualifying probably wasn't where he wanted it to be. But he made up positions when he could. He didn't do anything silly on the last lap when he could have. But yeah, very good weekend. But another good run by Michael D. Orlando too. I mean that's good. Like we were talking about before the race started. How do you recover from a disappointment?
You go win.
You go flag to flag and win.
That's
right?
it. That's it. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. TSOladder.com. How do they subscribe to Trackside Online?
Just head over to tracksideonline.com and subscribe. It's $22 a year, and you'll get all kinds of IndyCar and Road to Indy news sent to your inbox via email.
That's it. TSOladder.com as well, following all the ladder system of the Road to Indy. And again, big run for Michael D. Orlando. Eric, I'm going to head down to Victory Lane. Again, great working with you today. Looking forward to starting off the morning with Indy Pro 2000 as well.
Indy Pro 2000 is going to be a great race. We'll get you back in Victory Lane in just a couple of minutes here, Rob. And ready for Victory Lane, Rob Howden with the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship Podium Celebration.
Eric, thank you so much. Indeed, down here at Tatis Victory Lane to award our hardware for the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Road America, powered by Elite Engines. And again, the ladies from Elite are going to help me out here today to provide some awards. It's been a pretty strong overall day here for the driver coming home in 3rd place today, able to move up in both races. P3 here today, folks. Put your hands together for Thomas Naveau, the Canadian for D-Force Racing. Paige will help me out with the trophy here. Thank you so much, Paige, and a great run for Thomas Naveau. A winner here last year in his rookie season. 2 really strong runs to salvage some tougher qualifying sessions. Thomas Naveau, a great drive. Finishing in 2nd spot, this championship tightening up. What a great weekend. 2 second-place finishes for Pabst Racing. Miles Rowe. We'll bring Hannah up here with the trophy for Miles. Great weekend for Miles Rowe here. This championship heating up for the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. I'll tell you one thing, when you have an issue on the racetrack in one race, the one thing you got to do, make it happen, work your way back and win the next day. Flag to flag for this driver. An issue this morning, comes back with a race win. He's your point leader. Put your hands together from Cape Motorsports, Michael D'Orlando. That was a challenge. I know how disappointed you were this morning after the contact in turn number 8, but be able to come back like you did and get the win here, you got to be over the moon right now.
Oh, I am so over the moon. What a fantastic race. I mean, obviously we had that red flag in the middle of the race, and we thought we were going to go to rains, and then we're like back and forth, and like we went out for those 2 pace laps again, and just realized that, yeah, the track was getting back into it. But Miles over here just kept putting pressure on me the whole time, so congratulations. That second place, you earned it. But, I mean, what a roller coaster today. I mean, the last race ended up finishing, 15th, and then now coming back for a win here at my one of my favorite racetracks in the world with the best supporters. So, I mean, I couldn't have done it without anyone like Cape Motorsports, Rising Star Racing, all you guys that made this effort possible, my family, mom and dad, even Nicholas that's out there racing with me. And, yeah, what a fantastic weekend.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Let's get that first place trophy. Another round of applause for Michael D'Orlando. Kristen, bring that trophy in here for me. Thank you so much. Again, the Elite Engines, our sponsor of the program here this weekend for USF 2000. And great to have the girls up here helping us hand out some hardware. And as Michael said, what a great way to come back. Miles Rowe, again, maybe one of his best weekends in his Road to Indy career with a tremendous overall body of work for the weekend. A couple of second place finishes. Pushed D'Orlando hard over that last dash we had. Just 3 laps to wrap up the day here in USF 2000. These racers now looking forward to Mid-Ohio. In about 3 weeks' time, we'll go to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. A challenging racetrack for sure, but the championship most definitely heating up. Go to the streets of Toronto still as well. We'll wrap the season up in Portland on Labor Day weekend. These drivers, all 3 of them in the championship battle here right now. And again, it's going to come down to Portland for sure in that finale up in the Pacific Northwest. But as I always say, folks, you're here obviously for the NTT IndyCar Series. A tremendous weekend here at Road America. The campgrounds we know sold out, packed with fans. You guys love your racing here. You love the IndyCar program, and this is where it all starts. This is where Kyle Kirkwood was a number of years ago. David Malukas, Renus VK. You just go through the grid of the NTT IndyCar Series, and so many of these drivers have honed their craft here on the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. And that's why we're thrilled to be part of this program and part of the IndyCar family to get a chance to develop these drivers who you're going to be watching for the next number of years. The next generation's coming, we know it. Colton Herta, Pato Award, Renus VK, and the next gen is here to put a show on for you. And these are the drivers you're going to see. Michael D'Orlando, what a huge comeback after the disappointment of the morning. A couple of podium finishes in second for Miles Rowe. And really, Thomas Naveau, his first podium of the day. But to be one of the hard chargers in race number 1, coming from 14th up into, I believe, 6th. Started 9th today, ends up 3rd. This guy passed a bunch of cars throughout the day. Thomas Naveau, the Canadian from Quebec for D-Force Racing. Well, folks, there you go. You guys can grip it and rip it, guys. Start the celebration. Spray that champagne. Great celebration for the drivers here in USF 2000. Michael D'Orlando going after the team. Oh, he's got him in a big way. Cape Motorsports, of course, folks, the legends of USF 2000 racing. And again, we'll wrap things up here on the Road to Indy TV. Michael D'Orlando enjoying a tremendous day and a tremendous recovery as he ends up getting the win and will hold the point lead through to Mid-Ohio. Again, don't go anywhere because we're back again tomorrow morning. We want to make sure you tune in for Indy Pro 2000. Those drivers on track. We'll have our pre-show starting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. Make sure you join us, folks. It's going to be a lot of fun to see everything come together and wrap up this weekend here at the iconic Road America. On behalf of everybody who was on the broadcast with us today, Jack William Miller, your own Demondall from F1 Feeder Series, Steve Whittick from TSOladder.com, and, of course, the voice of Road America, Eric Miller. Great to have him here with us, but thank you so much for tuning into the broadcast here, folks, on Road to Indy TV. My name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.